Samsung spearheaded the foldable revolution, but in the years that followed the corporation seems to have become complacent to the point where rival foldables from Oppo, Honor, and Huawei eclipse more current models in the Z Fold series. Although we saw a significant increase in general design from the Z Fold 5 to the Z Fold 6, it is still bulkier, heavier, and lower specs than most of the book-style rivals. Something has to change with this year's Z Fold 7 if Samsung is to keep its folding crown for much longer. With that in mind, and having tested most of the finest folding alternatives out right now, here are 5 changes that I believe the Samsung Z Fold 7 sorely needs to remain competitive. First is the thinner design. A thinner, lighter design is the most clear difference I would like from the Z Fold 7. Though it's still larger than a typical candy bar smartphone, and the competition has gone much further, Samsung's shift from the 13.4mm thick Z Fold 5 to the 12.1mm thick Z Fold 6 shows significant development in this area. Just weeks after the Z Fold 6 was announced, Honor released the competitive Honor Magic V3. Measuring 9.2mm thick, a full 2.9mm thinner than the Z Fold 6, it was called the thinnest book-style foldable at the time. In keeping with typical smartphones, it was also lighter at 226 grams versus the Z Fold 6 with 239 grams. While I believe that was already stretching the boundaries of what foldable electronics could do at this time, Oppo answered, "Hold my beer," and delivered us the unbelievably tiny Find N5 in early 2024. Measuring 8.9mm thick folded and 4.2mm unfolded, the next obstacle Oppo will have to conquer is the width of the USB-C connector. That's hard to get my mind around. Seriously, it's an amazing piece of engineering that looks and feels years ahead of the Z Fold 6. It makes it all the more disheartening that Oppo chose against a genuine international release, instead selling it in China, Singapore, and a few other countries in Southeast Asia. But hey, there's always the Find N6. 2. Reduction of display crease. Aside from the overall weight of Samsung's book-style foldables, the other significant offender is the crease on the inside foldable screen. Now, I'm not expecting Samsung to totally erase the crease. I think it's near impossible given that, generally speaking, objects that are folded become wrinkled. But the dip in the screen is nearly enormous compared to the competition. Again, Samsung started to solve this with the Z Fold 6, delivering a shorter crease than its predecessor, but it's still far more noticeable than what you'll see from foldables like the Honor Magic V3, Oppo CN5, and even the 2-year-old OnePlus Open. It's still visible on those foldables, of course, but it's a lot shallower crease that's both less obvious visually and when running your finger over the screen. I can only hope for a similar experience with this year's Z Fold 7. 3. Better auxiliary cameras. The reality is, standard smartphone cameras are superior than those on foldables. It has been that way since foldables were developed, and I expect it'll continue to be the case for quite some time, given that normal phones have considerably more room inside to handle bigger, more advanced camera systems. With that in mind, the Samsung Z Fold 6 really performs a terrific job where the main camera is concerned. It's not quite as feature-packed as the Samsung S25 Ultra, but with a 50 megapixels with f/1.8 main camera supported by a 1/1.57-inch sensor, it's in par with the competition. For comparison, the Find N5 has a 50 megapixels f/1.9 snapper with a 1/1.56-inch sensor, while the Magic V3 has a 50 megapixels f/1.6 lens with a 1/1.56-inch sensor. However, the difference continues to grow when it comes to the auxiliary zoom and ultra-wide lenses, with the competition providing more complicated, higher resolutions than Samsung's foldable. While the Z Fold 6 features a pretty basic 10 megapixels with 3x fixed telephoto lens, majority of the competition instead opts for the more modern periscope lens innovation for improved zoom capabilities. Not only that, but they're higher res. Both the Magic V3 and Find N5 have 50 megapixel sensors with 3.5x and 3x zoom respectively, but both can be pushed beyond that. A switch to periscope zoom tech would be a wonderful start, albeit that would ideally be accompanied with a higher resolution to allow for greater digital zoom performance. The ultrawide could also need some love. The 12 megapixels fixed focus ultra-wide on the Z Fold 6 seems a tad plain compared to the AF-enabled 40 megapixels option from Honor's book-style folding. 4. A larger battery. Battery life is another area where the Z Fold 6 needs some TLC. While it can carry you through roughly a full day, the competition is again making improvements in this regard. It's primarily owing to the introduction of the newer silicon carbon battery technology, which allows for higher density batteries in a thinner form factor. This enables manufacturers to simply add greater battery capacity without compromising space, a significant issue for foldables in particular. With that in mind, it should come as no surprise that the silicon carbon-enabled Find N5 and Magic V3 provide greater batteries at 5600 mAh and 5150 mAh, respectively. Both of these are substantial gains over the 4400 mAh LiPo battery in the Z Fold 6, while being smaller and lighter than Samsung's foldable. Samsung absolutely has to join on this bandwagon if its foldables are to continue to be competitive while still being reasonably small. 5. A distinct form factor. This one's considerably less possible because Samsung has clearly doubled down on the tall and thin design of its cover screen, even with a somewhat larger Z Fold 6, but I believe Samsung has to go further. It's still larger and narrower than a conventional smartphone screen, making material seem crammed on the cover screen. But I do concede it's comfortable to use one-handed as a consequence. Still, with its rather uncomfortable shape, it stands alone compared to pretty much every other foldable on the market. I'd much prefer Samsung stick to the standard in this regard, delivering a cover screen that more closely resembles a typical smartphone. It's the best of all worlds. A standard smartphone experience on the surface and a big screen experience inside. Why Samsung maintains with their tall and narrow alternative is beyond me. Next, Samsung's first inexpensive foldable is coming, but what reductions can we expect? Foldables are pricey. While prices have decreased somewhat since the first Samsung Galaxy Z Flip, released for $1,380 in 2020, the company's current model, the Galaxy Z Flip 6, still begins at $1,099. Plenty of folks have been waiting for a cheaper model to test, and Samsung may be poised to deliver that dream. After dismissing intentions of a cheaper foldable back in 2023, it appears like the firm may finally have something very soon indeed, with Samsung reportedly releasing code out to an unannounced device with the code number of SM-F761. This very easily be the Samsung Z Fold FE. How would the fan edition of Samsung's flip phone differ from the standard model? Here's all we know about the Z Flip FE thus far. First is the price and release date. If the Samsung Z Flip FE is arriving this year, as the code update appears to imply, you may presume it's coming alongside the Samsung Z Fold 7 and standard Z Flip 7 this summer. However, according to Korean media, the phone would come several months later than the ordinary foldables, which predicts a likely release in September, October, or November. Pricing is absolutely up in the air at the moment, although we may turn to Motorola for some potential inspiration. The company's Z Flip 6 competition, the Moto Razr Plus 2024, begins at $999, while the lesser Moto Razr 2024 costs $699. Samsung may opt to promote the Galaxy Z Flip FE as a rival of the latter in the $650 to $850 category. According to the design and presentation, the CAD models generated by OnLeaks and Samiguru show a phone that appears substantially like the Z Flip 6, right down to the dual camera array and weirdly curved cover display. That implies a 3.4-inch exterior screen, which swings back to show a 6.7-inch inside display. The phone is, however, somewhat less broad and a touch thicker, with dimensions of 165.1 by 71.7 by 7.4 millimeters. The Z Flip 6 165.1 by 71.9 by 6.9 millimeters. That may suggest a somewhat bigger battery than the 4000 mAh cell on the ordinary model. It's worth mentioning that even if the FHD plus 120Hz internal screen is retained for the FE, the next Z Flip 7 will likely have it beat, with speculations of the external cover screen approaching 4 inches and substantially less bezel. For the performance and cameras, to attain a lesser price, savings have to be made someplace, and the most probable area is in terms of performance. To that end, the Samiguru article quoted above suggests that the Samsung Z Flip FE would employ last year's Exynos 2400E processor rather than anything from Qualcomm. The Exynos 2400E is a cutback version of the Exynos 2400. But as we witnessed from its introduction in the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE, it's not a horrible performance, just a touch worse than the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 that drives the ordinary Samsung Galaxy S24. Crucially, it's also capable of running Galaxy II features, meaning purchasers aren't going to lose out on much artificial intelligence-powered functionality, contrary to prior claims. While the renderings depict a twin-back camera array, specifications have not been verified. It seems probable that this will at least equal the 50 megapixels primary sensor and 12 megapixels ultra-wide lens seen on the Z Flip 6, although this would be a chance for Samsung to save some money. While nothing has been leaked, we should also keep a watch on RAM and internal storage. The 12 gigs RAM on the Z Flip 6 could simply be trimmed down to 8 gigs while still running AI apps, while 256 gigs of storage could similarly be decreased to 128 gigs in the sake of cost reduction. Notably, the Samsung S24 FE gets by with these RAM and storage specifications in place, albeit maybe crucially, that's not really any less than the normal S24. To conclude, I will say for now that it's too early days for the Samsung Z Flip FE, and we're still on the hunt for the primary cost-saving areas. A year-old processor isn't ideal, but it's not a deal-breaker either, particularly if it triggers large savings. If Samsung can get the pricing right, not only may we be looking at a new value selection for our list of the best foldable phones, but a potential boost for the still tiny foldable sector. We should find out later this year. So stay tuned for more updates and information on the highly anticipated Galaxy Z Fold 7, and witness the future of foldable smartphones from Samsung. See you in my next video. Peace out.